What's going on, guys? It is the SMT. What an incredible day. If you are pro-merger, you are so excited right now. The merger has been officially approved. The DOJ has approved. They've made a press release statement on it. T-Mobile has completed their earnings report and completed their earnings call. I actually sat in on the whole thing, watched it all, wrote everything down, synthesized it all, got all the key takeaways and everything. So I'm going to be presenting everything to you guys in this video. With this video, in terms of the setup, I'll go through all of the major merger components, things that we already knew, and then some new stuff as well, different ways that things were kind of structured. Talk a little bit about Dish and what that means for Boost customers. That's a big one. T-Mobile, what it means for their customers, their network, and their company. And then I'll look at some of the important and key questions that actually came from the earnings call towards the tail end of it, when a lot of people probably turned it off. But there was some really important information. It was just sprinkled in there. And then the last thing, kind of like the statements from Makan Del Rahim and the DOJ. To get things started with the news, shares for Sprint and T-Mobile hit an all-time high. I'm sure that, the positive feels and kind of the climate of the merger has sent, predictions of financials through the roof. So there's definitely a lot of reason for that positivity. And I think the market probably feels it as well. Let's first start by talking about the components that were announced from John Legere and the T-Mobile team in the earnings report. So in terms of the merger components, it was a situation where John was speaking of the DOJ and the FCC, talking about how they have both provided their clearance. He mentioned the state attorneys general extensively, I want to say like at least 3 or 4 times. But he did indicate that he did have the federal support in terms of the merger, so that was good. When speaking specifically about the deal itself, he did say that the deal is likely to close in H2 of 2019, which is good news for the merger. There will be meetings with the presiding judge next week. John was very diplomatic about the whole lawsuit situation. He seemed to kind of speak very positively of it, which is good. You want to kind of have that persona. And then he did mention that the deal will not close until court proceedings wrap up. So nothing can happen until that's done. And then he did say that they will be working closely with the states to get on common ground from the lawsuit. And in terms of a time frame, we know that court proceedings could be, could stick to schedule, October 7th, or they could get pushed back as far back as December. Now for the Dish side. Dish will have full access to the new T-Mobile network, and this does include 5G. They will be getting all of Sprint's prepaid ownings, so that would be Boost, as well as Sprint prepaid proper and Virgin. And they will be offering a prepaid and postpaid service, talking about Dish here. So they'll continue to support all the prepaid side, and then they will offer postpaid. They will be getting some Boost stores. I want to say it's in the hundreds. They will be using Sprint's decommissioned towers as authorized by T-Mobile. I think it's 20,000 sites. And they will be getting the 800 megahertz spectrum from Sprint, which I believe is band 26. So they do have a 7-year MVNO deal. They do have 9.3 million customers, so it lets you know how many prepaid customers that Sprint did have. John Legere also kind of debunked a couple myths. There will be no network hosting or revenue sharing deals. This is simply an MVNO deal that Dish has. And they will offer lease deals. They will be good, but the companies are going to have to pay, and John made that very, very clear. Dish has their own 600 megahertz spectrum, which they will be building out. Dish made a deal with the FCC to make sure that they have a certain amount of 5G available nationwide. 70% of the US will have 5G by June of 2023. And if they don't meet that requirement, the FCC will fine them $2.2 billion. That's an incredible number. Good to see that the FCC is holding them to that. John also spoke specifically about Charlie Ergen, the chair of Dish. John did say about Charlie that he seems and is very motivated to get this ball rolling and to be a competitive player in the wireless network provisions. He said they are well positioned to do so. I think some of that is a little bit of smoke and mirrors. I'll talk more about that in a later video. But John did reiterate that this deal works great for both companies, or all three companies, I should say. And I mean, I didn't expect him to say anything else, honestly. Now, from the T-Mobile side, the new T-Mobile network was mentioned specifically by John. The deal was set at $26.5 billion. T-Mobile did mention, and this was from several different representatives, including John, Braxton, I forget the name of the other gentleman. But anyways, they spoke of the $43 billion synergy deal, which I'll get to shortly. Sprint postpaid customers are all going to T-Mobile, so go ahead and add those customers there. T-Mobile is getting all of the 2.5 gigahertz spectrum. John did mention 100 megabits per second for their customers. So specifically, he mentioned T-Mobile customers, though. So kind of important, I think. 600 megahertz band 71 5G will be ready next year. MVNOs will be honored. All deals that are currently in place. New deals will also be made. Bigger deals for more companies. They want to host as many companies as they can. Pricing wise, no pricing is going up for the next 3 years. If anything, they said they actually want to drop certain pricing, which is great. Jobs are definitely going to be created because of the integration of the networks, and they will have their national 5G on schedule. Typical John Legere fashion, he did dog Verizon. He said they're losing and they're going to lose 5G. He says they're lost in the whole thing. He did mention AT&T because he said Dumb and Dumber, lying to customers about the whole 5G thing. He just called it advanced LTE. But he says that while they did lie, they do understand how they will succeed with 5G. Anyways, that's just kind of what John does. 25 quarters consecutive of 1+ million added customers for T-Mobile. They've got the record low churn, record high revenue numbers, and the merger now puts T-Mobile at 120 million customers on the joined new T-Mobile network. Looks like that whole synergy thing that they kept mentioning, the integration of the network, $40 billion investment over the course of the next 3 years. The reason why that whole synergy deal is a big thing, and that number, that $43 billion, that's a mix of hardware, software, investing, the job creation part, the expanding of the company. That's where all that comes into place. So when John speaks of creating jobs, that's kind of the indication. Spending all that money is going to be the labor, the manpower, the equipment, the hardware. It's going to be an economy booster, according to John. Now, one of the questions asked specifically to John, and I think also to another gentleman, I forget who it was, but there was a question about the integration process of the two networks. Apparently, it is completely detailed. I think it was Neville who was speaking about it. It will get started immediately, which is great. Sites will be abandoned at some level, and those will be made available to Dish on a lease program. This generates revenue for T-Mobile. This is basically a plus because they were going to be decommissioning these sites anyways. Now it just gives them an added revenue stream to help with the whole synergies investment. Remember, they've got a very specific plan over the course of the next 3 years to spend over $40 billion. So that's a lot of capital. They've got to have a plan in place to keep money coming in, and that cash is going to be used directly into kind of bolstering the network. I think the duration part is kind of important. They did mention 3 years. They did mention the growing pains. They did mention the difficulty, the long process. It's not going to be easy. I completely understand that. I don't have a problem with it, but I do think, if there's any way they can accelerate it, T-Mobile is really the company that would be able to do it. Just look what they've done as a track record with Band 71. So how important is it to mention what the customers of these companies are going to be going through? I think for one, Boost customers, they should feel safe. Their pricing should be maintained. There's still going to be competition in the prepaid market. Metro and Boost are still going to be competing fiercely. So I think the prepaid side is covered. So their network performance should improve. And of course, the competition with the pricing should also remain the same, but possibly even get better. I think it's very likely that the price war should continue. So T-Mobile prepaid with Metro by T-Mobile, the Boost customers, all is well there. And then of course, maintaining the MVNO deals continues other offerings by other companies to also compete in the prepaid space. The only problem I can foresee for any type of customers on the new T-Mobile network is going to be the first couple of years. it's going to be hard. There's going to be seismic shifting of customers. We're talking about adding 50 million customers just from Sprint side. But then what about the new customers that join onto the new T-Mobile network, as well as all those MVNO and prepaid deals? There are going to be times where performance on the T-Mobile network is going to suffer, especially in certain markets. There's going to have to be some kind of a phase rollout or a phase shifting of customers. I don't know how Neville's going to do it. He says he's got a detailed plan. I mean, I trust that he knows what he's doing, but there may only be so much they can do at any given time. So there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be moments of difficulty. I just think customers may not in particularly understand this, and you may have some very disgruntled customer experiences in the near future. Hopefully within those 3 years, those problems can be remedied. Another question that came in later towards the tail end of the earnings call, there were concerns about buyers of Dish. That question is interesting because it takes kind of like the MO of what Dish has been trying to do, which is sell out. And, they asked directly about this. The deal is apparently specifically for Dish. T-Mobile has gone ahead and protected themselves. I think I'm getting the impression that the deal being specifically designed for Dish is not going to be extended to any other company. So if Dish does sell in 3 years, I don't think they're going to be getting that same sweetheart deal from T-Mobile, and things could get kind of fishy there. So John didn't really want to talk about it too much. He did kind of want to just like poo-poo it and put it on the side, but he did say that we are protected. Another one of the questions that was brought up towards the tail end of the earnings report was a question about home internet and broadband internet. Apparently, they're sticking to everything. T-Mobile has continued to emphasize that they want to serve over 9 million customers using, this home internet broadband solution. These commitments are through the FCC, and they're trying to have it done by 2024 with that rural, part of America emphasis. So that's not changing in any of this. As it pertains to the DOJ and the presser and the announcement from Makan Del Rahim, he did say and was quoted, "Merger would have hurt Americans without the concessions we put into place. It's all about fast internet for Americans, keeping them connected, and Dish will be a disruptive force in the marketplace." I think specifically his quote was, "Dish is in a unique position to succeed." So he feels confident that they put together the right plan in place to make Dish a legitimate fourth competitor that can grow and succeed in the long term. And then other kind of merger random news, Nebraska, Ohio, Kansas, Oklahoma, South Dakota signed on to the merger. So we've got those states' approvals. The last thing to cover here in this video is the cost. $26.5 billion for T-Mobile. It looks like this number may actually be able to be massaged a bit financially. So they don't have to come up with $26.5 billion instantly. It looks like they do have to provide about 10% of that, which I think is, I think it was Braxton maybe. He was talking about it. He said $3 billion is pretty much owed right now. The rest of it will be deferred, put into holding, into escrow, different things like bonds. There will be some refinancing down the road. They do have the credit to make this deal happen. They do have the revenue streams to protect themselves moving forward in the future. And the financial outlook is positive. All is well on the financial side. It is incredible. The deal is finally done. There were so many people that were naysayers, doubted the deal would occur. I mean, I don't want to say I told you so to those people, but overall, I think the companies did the right thing. I think T-Mobile and Sprint positioned themselves well for the future. You're looking at a very, very strong third player almost instantly, like within a couple of years. And within 3 years, we're talking about a network that could potentially surpass Verizon and AT&T in terms of capacity, speeds, performance, and every feature that they can offer, including home TV over IP, home internet and broadband. There's so much potential. So the DOJ was able to get the deal done under their terms. It got done there. The FCC is going to approve this thing. Dish is going to be our new fourth carrier. They're positioned, I guess, to kind of be a legitimate growth type of potential in a carrier. I'm not really convinced about it because based on track record, but all parties involved seem to think that everybody won in this case. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section. What do you think about all these merger components? The Dish side, the T-Mobile side, the consumer side as well, and some of the questions that were asked and the answers that we got, the DOJ's explanation. There's a lot to cover. Drop me a line, drop me 2 lines, drop me 3 lines, whatever. Whatever you want to talk about, go ahead and drop me a line there in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. It is truly astonishing. We finally got it. I can't believe it's finally here. I want to thank all of you for joining me on this merger journey, dating all the way back to April of last year, April 2018 to, currently where we're in July of 2019. It's been truly an incredible roller coaster of a ride. The ups, the downs, the twists, the turns, the new players, all these other things that have happened along the road. It's been truly an incredible experience, and I want to thank you guys for being here to join me on it. I want to give a big shout out to the Discord server, the Discord community, the Patreon community. Thank you for your continued support. In the description box, you'll also see links for those two, as well as a PayPal link if you want to support SMT production. Many thanks for those considerations. If you want to provide a occasional or small monetary donation, many thanks in advance for that. It's over. It's here. The merger is, it's here. Thank you guys for tuning in to watch this video. There will be more videos coming on this topic, I'm sure. So we'll be looking forward to seeing you guys on the next videos as it pertains to the new T-Mobile. Thank you guys again for watching. I am the SMT, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.